Galactus, the Devourer of Worlds, the cosmic giant who can snuff out civilizations like candles and walk away without looking back. On the page, he's one of the most legendary villains Marvel ever created. But on screen, for decades, he was a disaster. Hollywood didn't know what to do with him. They were afraid of him, afraid of the purple armor, afraid of the sheer size, afraid that audiences would laugh. So instead of giving us the god of hunger, we got a cloud. We got a swarm of alien bugs. We got disappointment. But then, Marvel did the impossible. They didn't just make Galactus work in live action. They made him terrifying, awe-inspiring, and somehow believable. And they did it by solving three massive problems that have haunted this character since the 60s. Problem 1, his design. Problem 2, his personality. Problem 3, the stakes. If they'd gotten any one of these wrong, Galactus would have been a joke again. But instead, they gave us one of the best villains the MCU has ever seen. And we're about to break down exactly how they pulled it off. Because trust me, if you think it's just about making him look cool, you're only seeing the surface. Galactus's design is complicated. In the comics, he isn't literally a giant man in purple. That's just how our minds interpret him. An abstract cosmic being, too big and too strange for us to comprehend. Our brains translate him into something vaguely human-shaped because anything else would drive us insane. That worked beautifully in the 60s and 70s, back when comics were bright, weird, and bursting with sci-fi imagination. But try dropping that exact look into a realistic MCU cityscape, and you'd hear laughter instead of gasps. That's why Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, turned him into a space cloud. That's why the Ultimate Universe turned him into a swarm of alien insects. It might have been more realistic, but it stripped away everything that made Galactus iconic. Matt Shakman? He didn't run from it. He doubled down. The helmet stayed. The silhouette stayed. Even the tunic stayed. But the G on his chest? Gone. Replaced with a bold, mysterious circle. The smooth comic armor? Rebuilt into an intricate, mechanical masterpiece with gears, panels, and moving parts. It didn't look like plastic cosplay. It looked like a living extension of his ship. And here's the genius move. Those gears weren't just decorative. In the New York battle, Reed Richards jams one, locking Galactus's arm mid-swing. Suddenly, the armor isn't just a costume. It's part of the fight. Shakman didn't just design Galactus to look believable. He designed him to exist in the world. And that world? A retro-futuristic Marvel reality filled with flying cars and wild superpowers, where Galactus feels like he belongs. The colors were toned down from bright comic book purple to deep, worn shades. Not because the MCU hates color, but because this armor is ancient. Older than the universe. Older than the Fantastic Four's technology. It doesn't sparkle. It doesn't shine. It commands. And if you think armor alone can't make a god feel real, wait until you see how they gave him presence. Galactus isn't scary because he's big. He's scary because you feel small. Most failed versions of Galactus made a simple mistake. They shot him like any other character. Eye level, center frame. Which makes him look like a guy in a costume. Shakman took lessons from Pacific Rim and Godzilla 2014, never letting us see Galactus like a peer. We see him from below, looming over skyscrapers, blotting out the sun. Or from above, looking down at us like we're ants. When he looks at Franklin Richards, still inside Sue's womb, the camera zooms until his eye fills the entire screen. One eye, larger than most characters' whole bodies. You don't just see the size, You experience it. When he breaks through the Baxter Building's defenses, his face doesn't even fit on screen. In the theater, it felt like he wasn't on the screen. He was in the room with you. And his movements? Slow, deliberate, heavy. Every step feels like it could register on a Richter scale. When Sue Storm shoves him back with her force fields, he braces himself against a skyscraper. Not as an effect, but as if the weight of his own body demanded it. Then there's the voice. Ralph Ineson. A voice so deep, so resonant, that in a good sound system, your seat vibrates with every word. It doesn't just echo, it rolls through you. You don't just watch Galactus, you feel him. But presence is nothing without personality. And that's the next problem Marvel had to solve. Here's the truth. Galactus isn't just a giant alien. He's an idea. In the original Lee and Kirby comics, he was beyond morality. Not evil, not good. Just inevitable. A cosmic hurricane that happened to wear armor. And that works in Plint, when you can accept a villain with no real feelings or goals beyond hunger. But in live action, that kind of character is flat. Forgettable. John Byrne knew it. That's why in the 80s, he gave Galactus depth, a curse, regret. The faint trace of a man who once lived before the birth of this universe. Matt Shakman had a choice. He could drown the audience in cosmic lore, tell the whole story of Galen, last survivor of a dying reality. Or he could keep it short, sharp, mythic. He went with short. In his first scene, Galactus says just 2 sentences. I was once small like you, and now I am cursed with endless hunger. That's it. No montage, no flashback. Just a mystery that hangs in the air like a storm cloud. And it works. Because the less you know about a god, the more alien he feels. It's the same reason we fear the deep ocean. You don't know what's down there. But this Galactus isn't emotionless. He's weary. He wants peace. Maybe even death. Franklin Richards, the child with the power cosmic, might be the only one who can end his hunger. So Galactus offers a deal. Give me the boy, and I'll spare your world. It sounds almost noble, until they refuse. That's when the mask cracks. He swears to devour Earth, slowly, making sure Franklin watches every last bite. That's not hunger. That's vengeance. In one moment, he shifts from tragic god to sadistic executioner, stretching Reed Richards to his limit, smirking as if you might snap him in half just to make a point. This is not the Cloud. This is not the Bug Swarm. This is a being you cannot bargain with, but can still provoke. And now that he's more than just a faceless force, we finally have a villain worth fearing. But here's the catch. Fear doesn't mean anything if the stakes aren't real. And that brings us to Galactus's biggest challenge yet. We've all seen it before. The villain threatens the entire planet, and you don't believe a word of it. Why? Because we know the planet isn't going anywhere. Not in the second act of a franchise. Not when the next 5 movies are already announced. It's the Thor: The Dark World problem. Malekith promises destruction, but you know it's empty talk. The biggest threats in superhero movies aren't always the biggest in scale. The Green Goblin in No Way Home didn't threaten the multiverse. He threatened Peter's world, and he won. So how do you make a planet eater feel dangerous when we know he's not going to eat our planet? Shakman had the answer. Change the planet. Instead of Earth 616, First Steps takes place in Earth 828, an entirely new universe. No Avengers, no Guardians, no cavalry. The Fantastic Four are the only heroes this world has, and they might not be enough. From the opening scenes, the audience feels it. Maybe Galactus can win this time. By the second act, the Silver Surfer admits the truth. Your best chance isn't to fight, it's to run. Leave Earth behind. Let it burn. If this were Earth 616, you'd know that was impossible. But here, maybe Reed Richards would choose his family over his world. The fan theories were wild. What if Galactus destroys Earth 828 and the Fantastic Four escape to 616 as refugees? What if Franklin grows up to take Galactus's place? In the end, they found a way to stop him, just like the comics. But here's the difference. For 2 solid hours, you believed they might lose. And belief is everything. Marvel didn't just fix Galactus. They resurrected him. They gave him armor that feels like ancient alien machinery, not cosplay. They gave him scale and presence that makes you feel small in your seat. They gave him a personality, tragic, dangerous, unpredictable. And they set him loose in a universe where he could actually win. For the first time in live action, Galactus is what he was always meant to be. A god, a force of nature, a shadow that can fall over any world. And if Marvel's smart, he won't stop at one.